Night one of WrestleMania 40 may be in the rearview mirror, but I think I can say with confidence that it's going to be a night of professional wrestling that I'm never going to forget. It was an extremely well-balanced professional wrestling show that had amazing extreme moments, incredibly shocking results, amazing wrestling matches, incredible entrances, and insane unmatched star power to boot. Frankly, when you include NXT Stand and Deliver, today might be my favorite day of professional wrestling ever. I've already uploaded the NXT Stand and Deliver review if you'd like to watch that as well. But in this video, I'm going to be reviewing night one of WrestleMania 40, and I'm going to be giving you my opinions on every match, every segment, and telling you whether I like it or hated it. Spoiler alert, I liked a lot about this show. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And as you may notice, there aren't any of the fancy edits because I have to edit this myself. The editor got away. So if you've seen him, send him back. First, I do wanna address the concern that a lot of people had online, which was the crowd was dead and quiet. Typically, I'm really forgiving of open air stadium crowds because it is really hard to capture the acoustics of when people are going crazy because the sound is just leaving the stadium. There's nothing you can do to stop that. However, I was disappointed with the Philadelphia crowd because even though I'm willing to forgive a lack of super thunderous sound, they were sitting for a good chunk of the time and didn't look overly too excited. That was closer towards the end of the show. Things did get a bit more hype with the crowd, especially towards the end of the main event, but there was a good chunk of this show where I felt the crowd was out of it. So I sincerely hope that the night two crowd makes up for the underwhelming crowd that we had tonight in night one. If you were in that crowd, I'm sorry, it's just my interpretation. And it wasn't just my interpretation. A lot of people were feeling this way as well. However, just because the crowd didn't seem like super into it, it didn't take anything away from any of the matches. I still felt like the show was really good from head to toe with only one blemish here. So now we're gonna go through every single match and I'll give you my thoughts. First, let's start with Rhea Ripley defeating Becky Lynch to retain the WWE Women's World Championship. Both competitors got special entrances this time around, with Becky Lynch having this like CGI version of her book with her narrating certain quotes and then her appearing through the book. Honestly, I thought it was pretty cool. Then Rhea Ripley actually got played by the band that sings her song. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to remind me in the comment section what the name of the band is, but I felt like they didn't really have a very good live microphone, but when you could actually hear them, they sounded pretty good. But to me, the best part of the entrances was Rhea Ripley's interaction with the singer, where they were like screaming at each other's face and staring each other down. I loved it. I thought it was great. The match itself, I'm happy to say, was a certified banger. Was it as good as Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley last year? I don't quite think so, but there was so much to like about this match. This is an objectively very good wrestling match where both competitors got some really great offense and had some really close calls. The storyline in the ring was that Rhea Ripley was just too strong for Becky Lynch, and that's what they played up through the first quarter of the match, with Rhea Ripley just overpowering everything that Becky Lynch wanted to do, including any of Becky Lynch's signature submission moves or manhandle slams. They were all getting overpowered by the raw strength of Rhea Ripley. And if that was the story that they were going for, I think it worked. But it really is towards the back half of the match where this really picks up and becomes a really memorable showcase, in my opinion. There's an amazing moment where Rhea Ripley is held up in a disarmor, but then she counters it and turns it into a triple powerbomb that was absolutely filthy. And then there was another counter from the same submission, another armbar slash disarmor, where she countered it into an electric chair that she then took to the outside from inside of the ring and then dropped the electric chair on the outside. It looked nasty and painful. But I like that every time that Rhea Ripley hit Becky Lynch with something, Becky Lynch just had this tenacity that allowed her to try and scrap her way back and get some really close calls as well in this match. There was a manhandle slam where I was 10% sure that Rhea Ripley was gonna lose. I got a little bit nervous. The finishing sequence was also just remarkable, with back-to-back riptides, one to the turnbuckle and one that was just so masterfully laid into that almost looked like Randy Orton hitting an RKO out of nowhere. She managed to hit a riptide seemingly out of nowhere, which was pretty awesome. Frankly, overall, I thought that this match was fantastic fantastic. I think it was a great title match. I was on the edge of my seat, even though I was really confident that Rhea Ripley was going to win. There was a moment in the match where I thought that Rhea Ripley was genuinely in danger. So they did a great job at playing with our emotions and taking what was an easy expectation and making us earn it. What we thought was just a given, they took us on a wild ride to eventually get us to the destination that we knew we were going to, but it made it a heck of a lot more fun. In my opinion, this was a great match. It gets a thumbs up, and I highly recommend that you watch this. Next up, we have the absolutely bananas ladder match for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships. We actually had two winners in this match, one being A-Town Down Under that won the SmackDown tag titles, but then we also had Awesome Truth win the Raw tag team titles as well. Let me tell you though, this was filthy. This was such a violent match. It was nice to see something like this at WrestleMania because it's been a while that we've seen a car wreck like this. Frankly, every time that WrestleMania decides to have a ladder match, it's always in contention for match of the year, and I think we have to consider this one as well. Not only did we have ladders in this, it kind of turned into a TLC match at one point with numerous table spots throughout the match as well. I do want to talk about how every team also felt special in their own right. We had DIY getting a special DX themed entrance where Tommaso Ciampa was cosplaying as Triple H, and we had Gargano cosplaying as Shawn Michaels. I really love that. But we also had the New Catch Republic stealing the show with some of the most innovative moveset in this match, because to me, they were kind of the outlier, and you could even tell that they were the outlier because they were the only team that didn't really garner a response from the audience. In fact, they had to earn that response from the audience by doing some of the awesome moves that they ultimately did. A big shout out goes to Tyler Bates spinning around the ladder alongside Finn Balor at the same time. That was great. But then we also had both members of the New Catch Republic doing moonsaults at the same time, simultaneously from the top of the ladder to everyone outside. So I appreciate that the WWE understood that these guys still just don't have the star power to demand an automatic reaction, but god damn it, they earned a lot of respect and got some earned reactions with some of the amazing spots that they did. Definitely the highlight of what they pulled off is after Grayson Waller was able to win the tag titles for Team A-Town Down Under, the members of New Catch Republic just quite literally chucked Grayson Waller over the top rope right through one of those wooden ladders, and it was just such a filthy spot. And not only was it a beautiful car wreck, but there was also some hilarious slapstick happening in this match, which you knew was bound to happen when you had somebody like R-Truth in there. During the match, there was a sequence where R-Truth thinks it's just a regular tag match and is waiting to get the hot tag from The Miz, gets the hot tag, does the entire John Cena moveset on Damian Priest, even hitting an attitude adjustment onto a ladder. But after Team A-Town Down Under pulled the titles, the entire crowd was fever pitch to get R-Truth to have his moment. And there was a moment where R-Truth was climbing, the crowd was going crazy, and they really just yanked that from under us, because when we had JD McDonough take out R-Truth, help the members of Judgment Day try and climb the ladder, and we thought that Judgment Day was going to pull off the victory, but ultimately it just ended with the New Day throwing poor JD McDonough from the ladder to two tables outside. There was also an insane from in the ring to the outside DDT from Johnny Gargano through a table. I'm telling you, this was an insane car wreck that kind of felt like a TLC match without the C. Shout out to that rickety ladder that almost snapped while Damian Priest was trying to climb it, and honestly looked like my hopes and dreams just trying to hold themselves up. But ultimately, we got our WrestleMania moment with R-Truth climbing after all of the car wreck and carnage that was surrounding him, grabbed the titles, and he got to have that WrestleMania moment in celebration with The Miz, two guys that absolutely deserved that moment. So not only was the match really good, but we had two great winners, and the titles are split. Thank the fucking Lord. It's about time that they split the tag titles. I'm so happy with the result. I'm happy with the winners, but I'm even more happy that the tag division on both shows is now gonna get to flourish. So ultimately, yeah, this gets massive thumbs up. This was an amazing match. You don't even need to understand the story going into this. If you're a first-time wrestling watcher, you're gonna enjoy this. Yo, do you want even more wrestling content? Because I can give you more wrestling content over on Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, you get the SmackDown review, the Raw reviews, which means you're gonna be getting the Raw After Mania review over there. You also get the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days earlier than everyone else. And we even do watch-alongs where you can find the full WrestleMania 30 watch-along over there with footage included. So go Go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. It'll be the top link in the description or the link in the pinned comment. All right, now back to the video. Next up, we have the tag team match between the LWO, Rey Mysterio and Andrade El Idolo, taking on Legado del Fantasma member Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. This was another match that surpassed expectations for me. This was a really fun tag team match. Everyone got to have great offense in here. Andrade looked like a gazillion bucks in this match. This demonstrated that Andrade was such a steal to get for the WWE. He looked like a megastar in this match. For those that were a little bit bummed that Dragon Lee was taken out of this match because it was going to take away from any of the high fly maneuvers, let me tell you that Andrade was doing all the high fly maneuvers that you could possibly want. This man was doing moonsaults, backflips. He even did this awesome spot where he had Rey Mysterio on his shoulders and they did a double human centipede crossbody. Genuinely a wrestling move that I've never seen. The offense was incredibly innovative here. Yes, the action in the ring by the tag teams was great, but there was a moment where the match devolves into this chaos with everyone from LWO and Legado del Fantasma getting involved doing some crazy offense. We have people going over the top rope. We have Zelina Vega jumping from the apron to the outside to take Elektra Lopez out. We have Joaquin Wilde doing that insane spring rope jump thing that he does where he gets like 30 feet of air. Honestly, part of the reason why I wanted these guys in the match in the first place was because of that, because I knew that they would add the adrenaline in your soul into the actual match that it needed. Because yes, the match had great main characters in Santos and Dominic and Rey and Andrade, but I really would have liked the injection of youth and crazy moves that everyone else could have added. So I'm happy to say that even though they were removed from the match, they still got involved and still did some nutty things. But like I said, I was incredibly impressed with this tag team match. To me, this was way better than it had any right to be. But now when I say that out loud, that sounds stupid considering the talent of the people that were involved. I don't know why I thought this wasn't going to be that good. Frankly, it's a stupid thing to think of now. When you have somebody as good as Andrade, somebody as professional as Rey Mysterio, and up-and-coming talent like Santos and Dominic, it should have been a given that this was going to be good. The only thing that I didn't like, frankly, was the ending, because we had two members of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know who the other guy is, but I know the other one is Jason Kelsey, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles, come in, attack Dominic Mysterio, and help Rey Mysterio as well as Andrade win the match. I think the main reason why I didn't love this is because it just felt so out of left field to have these guys be involved in this match. Like, if I were to ask you, why is Kelsey and the other guy helping Rey Mysterio, can anyone give me a legitimate answer aside than from just because? Had it been like Bad Bunny, somebody with a history with this group, then maybe, but this just seemed very random for the sake to try and get a cheap pop out of people in Philadelphia, but that doesn't really work with a WrestleMania crowd where most people aren't from Philadelphia. They've traveled from all over the world. So there's actually probably a good chunk of people in that arena who had no fucking clue who Jason Kelsey is because they're from England and don't watch American football, or they're from other parts of the world. So I get wanting to get celebrities involved, but I didn't love the celebrity involvement here because it had just such a direct impact on the outcome of the match, and it just didn't feel earned. It just sort of felt like it was there for the sake of being there. I hope I'm explaining that well. It just seemed out of place. But I'm not gonna let that take away from the fact that this was objectively a really good match that I think you're gonna like. This gets a thumbs up from me. Here, sadly, the really only low point of the night, Jey Uso defeating Jimmy Uso in a singles match. Right off the rip, I really to this moment, believed that this needed to be a street fight. A city of brotherly love street fight is what I've been calling it for the past couple of months. And they did such a great job of setting the stage with this amazing hype package, demonstrating the love, but also the hate that these two have for each other. It justified the street fight or no disqualification stipulation. Jey Uso did get a special entrance as Lil Wayne wrapped him to the ring, which was pretty cool. But I think this is where I realized, okay, this crowd isn't particularly great, where anywhere that Jey Uso goes, this up and down arm thing, everyone is doing it. And when he was doing it in that arena with Philadelphia, the crowd just wasn't playing along. And that was my first sign that, like, you know what? It's not just because it's an open air stadium. I just don't think these guys are particularly a hype group of people. But really, the hype package and Jay's entrance is about as good as this match gets, because unfortunately, this is a super kick fest. There are nearly 20 super kicks between these two, and really, that is the bulk of the offense in this match. It is just super kicks. I will say the one highlight of this match is when they're going back and forth with punches, not super kicks. The crowd actually is really into it by chanting yeet anytime that Jey Uso lands a punch, and there's another contingency of the crowd chanting no yeet whenever Jimmy landed a punch. That was actually a really awesome moment. But really, aside from that, if you go back and rewatch it, it's just super kick after super kick after super kick. And I get it, it's the Usos. They're known outside of the Young Bucks as doing the most super kicks imaginable. But this was honestly to the point where it was meme worthy how many super kicks they were doing. I will say, even though it was a tremendous unnecessary amount of super kicks, I did appreciate the narrative that they were telling towards the end of the match, with Jey Uso obliterating Jimmy with so many super kicks to the point where Jimmy begs for mercy and asks him to please not kick him again. And you can see and sense the love and hatred at the same time that Jey is feeling. The love that's making him stop himself from kicking Jimmy's teeth down his throat, but also the hatred that's making him want to do it. I think that the acting between the two at that moment was really, really special. Of course, it was just a trap, and Jey Uso used it as a chance to hit, you guessed it, another super kick, and then an Uso splash, but we had a kick out at 2.99. And then after that, it's just a quick spear from Jey Uso to Jimmy, a splash, and that's it. That was the match. And I thought that it was really weird that they didn't have a payoff after the match, that there wasn't an acknowledgement of something between the two. The fact that they just had a brother versus brother brawl, or Jey saying something to Jimmy, it just cut to black, it cut to commercials. I felt like the match, although I didn't think was very good, could have been salvaged by the narrative. And even with that, I felt like they were lazy at the end, where they just moved on as quickly as they could. So unfortunately, I do have to give this a thumbs down. It's just not a very good match. It's only really driven by the narrative, and even the narrative I've seen better from both Jimmy and Jey. Next up, we have the 6-woman tag match between Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Naomi, taking on members of Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. First, we have to talk about how both teams got awesome A+ entrances. We had the Kabuki Warriors and Dakota Kai coming out to more like traditional Japanese entrance, and they just looked like a gazillion bucks. It was such a good entrance, but they were outdone and toppled by the amazing entrance of Bianca, Jade Cargill, and Naomi, where they were all wearing kind of like glowy gear, but all very different in their own right, all doing different poses, all of them getting a brief glimpse of their own entrance theme to do their own poses. I thought it was awesome. It just demonstrated that team, like, it's special, dude. I hope that they continue with this faction and build something big, because this could be a really, really special group. And it's been a really, really long time since we've seen a babyface faction as dominant as this. I really hope that they stick it out and that it isn't just a one-time deal. As you would have guessed, the payoff of this match was trying to get the tag to Jade Cargill. But even though that was the payoff and what we were all waiting for, it doesn't take away from the fact that Bianca Belair looked amazing in this. She had such great offense that at one point I'm like, why is this even a tag match? Because she is absolutely destroying all 3 members of Damage Control by herself. But I think part of the reason why I'm starting to really grow on Bianca and I'm really starting to like her is because she's starting to feel more human, and there is a bit more of an air of vulnerability where it makes her like not feel like this super unstoppable mega human. So that means when she actually overcomes the odds, it feels realistic. It feels like there was a struggle. It feels earned. And there were moments where Bianca Belair was getting beaten down by everyone from Damage Control, but when she had those moments where she was coming back and taking out the members of Damage Control, it felt right. Naomi got a little bit of offense here, but for the most part, she was actually the punching bag of this match. But I will say, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai all looked really good in this match. They all had great bouts of offense. There was a really nasty elbow drop from Kairi Sane from inside of the ring to the outside. There was a really cool moment of miscommunication between all the members of Damage Control where Asuka unfortunately spit the mist in Kairi's eyes. There was just a lot of good fun stuff happening. But like I said, the payoff of this was Jade Cargill getting the tag in, and they were doing everything in their power to try and prevent the tag in. But once she was tagged, it was I don't know, man. It was like the Infinity Stones were finally assembled by Thanos, because there was a moment of almost like explosiveness with her aura. She was tagged in, and every member from Damage Control that was running forward just stopped in their tracks. It was a really cool image. So shout out to Damage Control for helping build the aura and the mystique of Jade Cargill, because they really sold it for us. But yeah, once Jade Cargill got in, she annihilated everyone. There was a sequence where all the members of Jade's team did get some offense to help clear out the ring for Jade to pick up the victory by pinning Dakota Kai. I think that this match was really, really good. I think it exceeded my expectations as well. I'm glad also that this wasn't a squash match. It wasn't a 3-minute just, hey, here, let's feed them to Jade and Bianca and Naomi. This was a legitimate match that I think in its own merit was very good. It gets a thumbs up. Next up, we have the shocker of the night. We have Sami Zayn defeating Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship and ending the historic run of Gunther as the IC champ. The magic of this match actually starts before the match even begins, as we get this backstage segment with Sami Zayn as he's walking through and meeting all of the people that have been important to him in the journey to get to where he's at. First, he's with his son and with his wife, where of course they're having a beautiful family moment, but he tells his wife, please leave our son in the back. I don't want him to watch this. Then he walks closer towards the entrance, meets Chad Gable. Chad Gable says, I'm not coming with you. You're going out there by yourself. You're physically and mentally ready to take out Gunther. That was also a great moment. But just before he goes through the curtains, there's a great moment with Kevin Owens where Kevin Owens slaps his chest, hugs him, and tells him to go fucking win. It was a great, great way to introduce Sami Zayn as the guy that we want to get behind, because they struggled to do that in the actual lead up to the match. They did a better job of getting us behind Sami Zayn and getting us excited for Sami Zayn going through to war in that entrance than they did with the entire buildup. Gunther, on the other hand, just got his regular standard entrance. He did not come out with members of Imperium, as he tends to not do for Intercontinental Championship matches, because he is the ring general. I do appreciate that Gunther is a heel, but he just wins because he's better than you. He doesn't always have to win with somebody else interfering. Roman Reigns. And I'm happy to tell you guys that this match was an absolute classic. This was incredible. If you are more of a traditionalist, I think that this is the match of the night in terms of the actual in-ring work. And the narrative that they were telling was very simple and very cohesive as well, that Gunther was just too much for Sami Zayn. However, had Sami Zayn not undergone the training with Chad Gable, he would have been toast. But Sami was physically and mentally ready to continue to battle through everything that Gunther was hitting him with. That was the story, and it was perfect. Gunther is hitting Sami with the classic multiple finishers. Sami's kicking out. We even had a moment where Gunther hits the lariat and then hits 2 power bombs, 2 of his finishers in consecutive moments, and Sami still kicks out. Really, before the final sequence, Sami Zayn barely gets any offense in. There was only one moment where he was able to catch Gunther slightly off guard and hit him with a haluva kick out of nowhere, but ultimately that ended up to a 2.999 count. But then the last 5 minutes of the match, it was actually Gunther that lost his mental edge, because he continues to beat down Sami, continues to hit him with finishers, but rather than pinning him, he decides to turn to his wife and mock her and mock Sami Zayn. And he would mock her and then come back in and then hit Sami Zayn with another finisher, only to not pin him. Then he would go back out, make fun of her, say some garbage to her, go to the top rope, hit a splash, and still wouldn't pin him. And he did that again, over and over again, hitting yet another splash. But he spent so much time trying to play this psychological war with Sami's wife that it gave Sami Zayn enough time to use what he learned with Chad Gable, which was to persevere through the tiredness, to persevere through the hardships that he might be going through in that match, to get a last wind of energy to take out Gunther while he's on the top rope. And from there, he hits the nastiest brainbuster that I've ever seen ever in the WWE. Immediately followed by some Maluva kicks, and that was it. That was the match. Out of nowhere, Sami Zayn pulled out the greatest comeback I've ever seen in professional wrestling. This man got hit with like 70 finishers, should have lost, but because, again, so brilliantly told, the guy that was so physically but also mentally more powerful than Sami Zayn was the one that had the lapse in his judgment that allowed Sami Zayn to use that little bit of adrenaline, the little bit of energy that he only has because of his training with Chad Gable to pick up the victory. I think you can tell in my voice and in my emotion just how invested I was in this. It was cinema. I know a lot of people are not happy with the result, that Gunther shouldn't have lost here, but I think this opens up Gunther to do such bigger things, especially with so many shows being international and in Europe, like Clash of the Castle and Bash in Berlin. Plus, it's Triple H. If this was Vince McMahon, then maybe I'd be concerned that Gunther is now gonna go dancing with Santino Marella or something. But Gunther is going to the main event scene, and Sami Zayn is gonna have one hell of an IC title reign, and they're already hinting at Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable as well. This was, to me, the apex, the peak of in-ring physical storytelling. This was a classic to me. This is a thumbs up all around. And then, folks, we have the main event of the evening. We had the Bloodline, The Rock and Roman Reigns, taking on Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins. Right off the get-go, the star power of this match is undeniable. Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins both getting great entrances. Roman Reigns still getting his God aura entrance. And then The Rock, of course, just getting an immaculate entrance as well, with the Brahma Bowl being lit on fire, with his new entrance theme, with new and improved graphics as well, signaling that he's the final boss, that even though you're 99% of the way through beating all of the levels, that 1% is The Rock, as he's the final boss and he's unstoppable. Honestly, man, the entrances were WrestleMania-esque. But let's talk about the actual match itself, because this was a 44-minute match, and to me, this is a tale of two halves. But we already should know by now that Roman Reigns matches are always a tale of two halves. Because I was doing my live watch-along, of course, on YouTube and on Twitch, and for the first 25 minutes of this match, a lot of people were let down and disappointed by how slow and how methodical the in-ring action was. Even when it went to the outside, it never really felt like it picked up. It never really felt like it had energy. But folks, that's a Roman Reigns match to a T. Every single match that he's had always starts that way, where the first half of it is really slow, really methodical, because it's building. It's slowly trying to get you sucked in so that you don't even realize when you're finally at the top of the drop of the mountain, because this ride has gotten you there so methodically. This is the exact same type of pacing that he had in his match at the Royal Rumble with Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber. It was the most notable against the Usos in Bloodline Civil War. So that's just classic Roman Reigns, where the first half of the match almost is boring, but it's building you up to something, and that's what happened here. I will say this is another great example of the crowd letting us down, because The Rock clearly tried to re-emulate the stare down that he had with Hollywood Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18 and the stare down that he had with John Cena at WrestleMania 28, with all four men staring each other down for the first 6 minutes without any sort of punches being thrown. But unlike the Hulk Hogan match and unlike the John Cena match, crowd wasn't into it. But that's it. I'm done. Get out of here. You know, hooving and hurrahing. They couldn't get into it, it seemed. And I will admit, I do feel like the first 20 minutes of this match were slow and boring, but again, it's all by design. But by the end, holy shit, this might be my favorite WrestleMania main event of all time. Because this basically became a no-holds-barred rules, because The Rock basically threatened the referee to fire him if he even so much as even tried to count any of them out. Which again is a really great way to establish The Rock as the final boss, that he has power over everything, not just what happens in the ring, but really the bureaucracy of everything. I think to me, the real holy shit moment started when The Rock was doing a people's elbow on Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes countered it into a beautiful, beautiful jumping Cody cutter that The Rock sold masterfully. But if you want to me like the highlight of this, there was a moment where Roman Reigns was about to spear both Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins at the same time, but then they both moved, and who was there left to spear? But The Rock. He speared The Rock, and The Rock sold that like he got hit by a truck. Immediately, they both get hit with pedigrees, and they're both getting pinned at the same time, and it looks like it's over. But of course, the Tribal Chief and the final boss kick out, and that was a great sequence. The Rock is also, talking trash to Mama Rhodes, showing her the belt. Mama Rhodes is jabbing back. The Rock was a masterclass in this match. The Rock even took a table bump. This man allowed Cody Rhodes to hit him with a rock bottom through the table. It was a nasty bump. There was even a repeat sequence of WrestleMania 39 where Cody Rhodes was about to hit the triple crossroads, but instead of Solo Sikoa hitting him with a thumb, we had The Rock just wail on Cody Rhodes with the belt. And of course, this referee was useless because he doesn't want to disqualify The Rock because he doesn't want to get fired. So again, it just added to the drama of all of this. What's interesting about, at the very least, maybe the psychology as a viewer, is that even though The Rock was clearly exercising some power over the ref, it still felt like everything was clean because the ref was just sort of letting everyone do whatever they wanted. So even though The Rock and Roman Reigns won, even though The Rock was really bending the rules, it kind of still felt like they won clean because we had a sequence at the end where Roman Reigns hits Cody with the spear, and then The Rock jumps in to hit a rock bottom and then a people's elbow to capture the victory. So yes, folks, The Rock pinned Cody Rhodes before the Night 2 main event to make it Bloodline Rules. So folks, what did I think about this match? Because yes, the first 20 minutes are really slow. Should I count that against it? I'm gonna say no, because I knew what they were doing and the end result matched my expectations of what I thought they were doing. They took us on quite literally a roller coaster ride of emotions, where it started down low and then it went up high, took you on all what types of loops and turns, and it delivered what I think might be a WrestleMania classic, which is crazy to say that they delivered a WrestleMania classic and it wasn't just The Rock phoning it in, doing maybe 5 minutes of offense. Like, no, The Rock out of the 40 minutes was actively participating for more than half. Anyone that thinks that The Rock was going to be gassed after 5 minutes, you need to send this man an apology or go buy a bottle of his vodka, or no, it's tequila. What is it called? Tiramisu? Something? No, that's a dessert. It's Taramaka, something, I don't know. But here's the thing, I think that this match was fantastic. Ultimately, the in-ring action I thought was great, and more than anything, the drama. Holy shit, the drama. That's where this match really won me over. So many thumbs up. So that's 6 thumbs up and only 1 thumbs down for night 1 of WrestleMania in what I think is gonna go down as a classic night of professional wrestling. This was a fantastic show. Thumbs up, I cannot wait for night 2 now.